Welcome to Civil Service 101, an overview by the Office of Human Resources. This overview will highlight basic information about the City of Philadelphia's civil service regulations. It is designed to give viewers a general working knowledge of the regulations by covering three main areas. First, we will provide background of the civil service regulations. For example, when were they established? To whom do they apply? Next, we will discuss the regulatory offices that enforce the civil service regulations. Here, we will inform you about the government offices and boards that write, enforce, approve, and administer them. And finally, we will begin the introduction of the civil service regulations. There are a few disclaimers before we begin. First, the information in this overview is being provided to you solely for discussion purposes and contains incomplete summary information. Second, the summary is not meant to replace the official civil service regulations, which are legally binding. Therefore, if you have any questions, please refer to the civil service regulations or your departmental human resources manager. The civil service regulations are established by the Civil Service Commission under the authority granted to it by the Home Rule Charter. The Home Rule Charter is the city's constitution. It was adopted by the electors of the City of Philadelphia in 1951 and became effective in January of 1952. The Home Rule Charter is the foundation of city government because it establishes all of its executive and legislative branches of government. It establishes government offices and departments. The specific section of the Home Rule Charter that refers to civil service is found in Section 7301, which states that all officers and employees of the city shall be under civil service except all elected officers and their deputies and employees appointed by members of the council, department heads and their deputies, the mayor's employees, individuals under contracts approved by the Civil Service Commission, exempt positions approved by the Civil Service Commission, persons who in times of public emergency may be appointed for service not to exceed 1 month in duration. All other employees must be in the civil service. The Home Rule Charter grants authority to the Civil Service Commission to establish the civil service regulations. There are 3 members that make up the Civil Service Commission, and they are appointed by the mayor for staggered 6-year terms. The 4 primary functions of the commission are to oversee the civil service process, advise the mayor on personnel matters, establish and revise civil service regulations, job specifications, and 10 pay plans. As a result, any changes and additions made to the civil service regulations are reviewed and approved by the Civil Service Commission. The commission also serves as the appellate body for dismissals, demotions, suspensions greater than 10 days, unsatisfactory performance reports, denials of leave of absences, denials of work-related injury benefits. This means the Commission receives appeals from the civil service employees about any of these issues and can determine whether or not the matter was handled in compliance with the civil service regulations. The Civil Service Commission also appoints a Director of Human Resources who is responsible for administering the civil service and recommending changes to the regulations, classification, and compensation plans. The Director of Human Resources heads the Office of Human Resources that has a core mission of administering the civil service in a manner that allows departments to effectively attract, select, and retain a qualified, diverse, and effective workforce that supports the goals of the city. A few facts about the city workforce governed by civil service regulations. Did you know that the City of Philadelphia is the 2nd largest employer in the region? In fact, there are approximately 30,000 employees, with 25,000 that are civil service employees. There are 4 major unions, and the largest department is the police department with 8,200 employees. Now that we have reviewed the background of civil service and the regulating authorities, we will review how the civil service regulations actually come into existence. First, the Director of Human Resources prepares regulations for Civil Service Commission's consideration. The Director then distributes draft regulations 2 weeks prior to the Civil Service Commission's public meeting. Next, the Civil Service Commission holds a public meeting on the third Wednesday of the month to consider changes to the regulations and/or classification plan. Third, after the Civil Service Commission approves of the changes to the regulation and/or classification plan, the Administrative Board, which consists of the Mayor, Finance Director, and Managing Director, generally meet once a month to review for approval. The Administrative Board approval is required for civil service regulations pertaining to the position classification plan, pay plan, hours of work, holidays, and annual vacation and sick leave. Lastly, after regulations have received approval from the Administrative Board, the regulations are then filed with the Department of Records and are available for public inspection for 30 days. The job specifications and changes in pay are not filed with the Department of Records, but are accessible on the city's website. Now let's review a few key things that were covered to test your working knowledge so far. Civil service regulations are established by the A. Civil Service Commission, B. Home Rule Charter, C. Director of Human Resources. The answer is A. Civil Service Commission. The Civil Service Commission establishes the civil service regulations under the authority granted to it by the Home Rule Charter. The Director of Human Resources administers the civil service regulations. Who makes the final approval of civil service regulations pertaining to the position classification plan, pay plan, hours of work, holidays, and annual vacation and sick leave? A. Department of Records. B. The Director of Human Resources. C. The Administrative Board. The answer is C. The Administrative Board. After the Administrative Board gives final approval, the regulations are filed with the Department of Records for 30 days. Now that we have reviewed the background of how civil service regulations come into existence, let's begin the overview of the actual civil service regulations. The civil service regulations are divided into 33 subjects that cover all aspects of civil service employment, from job applications to employee separation. We will highlight a select few to give you a general working knowledge. The civil service regulations can be found at www.phila.gov. Once there, select Human Resources or Jobs. Next, you would select Resources, then select Civil Service Commission, and finally select Civil Service Regulations. Or go to www.phila.gov/personnel/webregs/index.htm. Of the 33 regulations, we will review a select few, beginning with Regulation 5. Regulation 5 addresses the classification plan. The classification plan includes all of the civil service job descriptions, which we refer to as class specifications. These class specifications are created and maintained by the Office of Human Resources. There are approximately 1,000 class specifications, and they are divided into 9 broad categories. This range of jobs includes everything from the unskilled laborer to engineers, social workers, accountants, police officers, firefighters, and the medical examiner, just to name a few. This regulation provides the requirements for the government officials that are responsible for approving, revising, and amending the classification plan for all positions in the civil service of the City of Philadelphia. This regulation also defines what class specifications should consist of. For example, each class specification, also commonly referred to as a job description, includes a class title, a general definition, typical examples of work, both of these provide a description of the duties, and the minimum training and experience, which is a statement of the job requirements that need to be met in order to be approved for this position. In summary, Civil Service Regulation 5 describes all of the details that are related to modifying, creating, and assigning employees to specific job categories within the classification plan. It also defines what class specification should consist of. By now, you should have a general working knowledge of civil service regulations and the governing authorities that establish and approve them. For an overview of Regulation 6, please proceed to the next Civil Service 101 video. For a full listing of all civil service regulations, visit www.phila.gov/personnel and click Resources.